This is the third interview from Imagine Books in Weymouth today, and I'm talking to Selwyn Williams, who is the author of The Treasure of the Golden Grape. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Can you tell the viewers what The Treasure of the Golden Grape is about?
Basically it's about a shipwreck of a Dutch ship coming back from Cadiz and San Lucar, heading for France, but it gets wrecked on Chesil Beach on the 11th of December 1641, and as soon as it hits the beach, there's Arthur Gray, the white Regis alehouse keeper, who's on the beach combing. He guides the crew across the fleet in his trow up to the village of Wyke. In the meantime they're throwing bags of pieces of eight, pistols which are gold doubloons, bar of silver, another species, silver plate and everything else, and that's being brought ashore. In the meantime, people from Abbotsbury and Portland have seen the wreck. They're making their way along the beach, and people cross the fleet from Fleet Village. Maximilian Mahoon goes down in his boat with his men. Strangways from Abbotsbury sends his men down in a boat. White people go across, and then the next day people from Weymouth and Melcombe Regis turn up to get their fair share of the spoils. She's carrying a cargo of barrels of raisins, Spanish olive oil, and also silks and all sorts of other goods.
And when I spoke to you last time, you mentioned there was a connection with James Bond. It seems sort of fairly topical.
I also cover Piracy at Studland, which is Sir Christopher Hatton was running that. He was the Queen's favourite. Privateering from Weymouth, and one of the privateers was John Bond, who sailed out with Drake to San Domingo.
Right.
And he found this stone globe there inscribed with non sufficit orbis, and thought he'd take that as his motto, and translated it means the world is not enough.
That's where.
And of course Fleming went to school in Dorset, and he also uses Hugo Drax from the Drax family at Bear Regis as one of his characters in Moonraker.
That's right.
And of course John Strangways, who's one of the pirates in the book, he uses John Strangways as the man who gets killed at the start of Dr. No. So there's a great Dorset connection. But the privateering from Weymouth was one of the privateer ports with Southampton on the English coast, and they were taking ships worth 20,000, which in today's money would be about £250,000. So a lot of these privateers, promoters, were very wealthy men and became mayors of Weymouth.
So, if people wanted to buy the book, where would be the best place? I guess here, Imagine
Books. They're also at local outlets, other places in Weymouth. Books Afloat, over at Portland, O3, Cards and Celebrations, Whitestones Cafe, all sorts of places. If you go on my website www.deadmansbay.co.uk, there's a full list and map of locations where books are on sale.
Okay. I noticed down there you've got some doubloons.
They're actually pieces of eight.
Pieces of eight, yeah.
Doubloons are exactly the same, except they're in gold. These are silver.
Right.
So
where did you find those?
They're the 8 reals, and bags of these pieces of eight were being thrown ashore. Half the goods coming out of South America from the New World was smuggled into Spain, and of course they needed something to spend their money on. So the Golden Grape was carrying a cargo of pepper out there, which was very valuable at the time, and that would have been smuggled back out to the New World, and they were paying for it with the smuggled silver and gold that they'd got from the New World.
Right, and you got those from Chesil Beach?
These are from Chesil Beach. They're from underwater on the wrecks there. What's mentioned in the history of the Golden Grape is a loaf of silver that came from Chesil Beach. There's a silver plate. They had bags of silver plate on board. Doubloons, they've been found on Chesil Beach. The pieces of eight certainly come from Chesil Beach. And we're continuing to look for further evidence of the wreck.
Right.
And there's been hand cannon brought ashore from there, 1550. Nice little hangout. They call them murderers. 7 murderers were picked up from the Golden Grape at the time and salvaged. She was a 3-masted vessel because we know that they salvaged the mast and everything else. She was on the shore for 4 days, so a lot of the gold and silver was picked up. But there's still enough remaining there to still to find.
Right. So this coast has an incredible history of wrecks.
This coast certainly has, and Chesapeake Beach in particular has got at least 200 wrecks that I know of that have hit the beach.
Right.
And that only goes back to about the 1700s that we know of, because that's when the newspapers started.
Yeah.
Very sparse information before that. This is one of the earliest wrecks that are well known, and I managed to find the High Court of Admiralty inquiry, which detailed the voyage, the ship, who was on it, who got what off it, and it details the local people, how they lived, where they lived, and what they did. So it's a genealogical source as well as an interesting book.
Sure. So, if people wants to buy the book, how much is it?
It's $14.95.
$14.95. It's got colour plates.
Colour plates. It's got 32 pages of colour plates and another 40-odd black and white illustrations throughout with maps and so on.
Right, as you say, it's published by yourself.
I self-published it, yes, and promoting it through bookshops such as Imagine Books in Weymouth.
Okay, and if people wanted to buy a signed copy, they could come to Imagine Books.
Yes.
Is there any other way they could do it?
That I'm happy to sign anytime.
So just contact you by email.
Contact me via Dead Man's Bay.
Yeah.
And there's a contact number on the website as well. So
okay.
I can get to these places and sign the books if necessary.
All right. I'll put a link to everything on your YouTube page. All right. Thanks very much for the interview.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.